In this video, we're going to talk about the setting the timeline of the project and critical path analysis. It is good to know that critical path analysis is actually done in very complicated projects that have a lot of dependencies and workflows. Once again, we're still not out of the planning part of the project. After scoping the project and figuring out which task is dependent on which one, we need to come up with the amount of time it is going to take in order to complete the project. To do that, we need to figure out the time needed for each and every individual task. After assigning the time to each of the tasks, we are going to be able to come up with the time that is going to take to finish the entire project. Coming up with the time that is going to take to finish a single task is very tricky. You do not want to underestimate or overestimate the amount of time it will take to do something. Underestimation of the task will result in mediocre outcome because the employees are going to be rushing to finish the task. But overestimation of the task will result in procrastination. Another thing about coming up with the timeline is that the employees are working on that project will deliberately complete the task at the last moment in the timeline, even if they are capable of finishing the task much earlier. They will procrastinate, thinking that they are not going to be blamed for it if they are able to complete the task in a specific time. Previously, we have learned that there can be a lot of ways a project can continue. If you see the network diagram from the previous video of this series, you will see that you can go to different directions in order to complete the project. The difference between this network diagram and the diagram I have shown in the last video is that in the last video, I put numbers instead of letters. There is actually a reason why I changed the numbers into letters. That is because now we are going to be calculating the time it is going to take to finish the project. Now let me just put different numbers to these tasks. Let's say that these tasks take this amount of time to complete. Task A is going to take 3 weeks to complete. You see that 3 different tasks are actually dependent on task A. So 3 arrows go out of task A. That is why all 3 of the arrows have the number 3 attached to it. The same thing with task B. 2 different tasks are dependent on task B and it takes 2 weeks to complete this task. Task C takes 5 weeks to complete. Now, task D is not dependent on any other tasks and it takes 4 weeks to finish and no other tasks are dependent on task D either. Similarly, you have tasks E, F, G, H. Now you have to figure out how long it is going to take to finish that entire project. In order to do that, you have to count how long each of the timelines are going to take. You have different paths here that are going to take different amounts of time to be completed if the paths are followed directly. These different timelines are going to take different amount of time to be completed. These are the timelines shown here. Now, if we add the number of times in all of these different timelines, we get the results. The longest route is going to be the time it is going to take the overall project to be completed, and that would be 10 weeks. And the timeline is ABC. Simple. This example is a really easy one. You also have to understand about critical paths. Critical path is a path where all of the tasks are going to have to be started as soon as the previous task has ended. If we don't do that, the project is going to get delayed. Now, what do I mean by that? Seeing this simple network diagram, you have to understand that task A has to be started in the first week. Then 3 weeks later, task B, E, and H can be started. The difference between critical path and the regular paths would be between the words has to be started and can be started. After you have completed task A, you can slack off on task E for 2 weeks and you can slack off on task H for 6 weeks. Even if you wait 4 weeks to start task H after finishing task A, it is not going to delay the overall timeline of the project. But you cannot slack off on task B and C. Even after completing task B, you can slack off on task A, but not C. A, B, C is the critical path in this project. Now you might be thinking that why do I have to explain this separately? It seems easy that the biggest timeline is going to be the critical path. There is no use in calculating it. But what are you going to do if two or more of these timelines are going to take 10 weeks to complete? Surely all of them are not going to be critical paths. There can be flexibility with most of the timelines except one. The path where all of the tasks are needed to be started as soon as possible is the critical path. The process of calculating the critical path in project management is not an easy one. If anyone is interested in how to do that, you can comment down below and I will make it happen. But this is it for this video. Thank you all for watching. And for the bonus part, I would like to say that the Spanish word for apple is manzana. Now, I hope you learned something new today.